Oh, Apothecary Diaries, how I love you so. I've noticed myself becoming more jaded in the past few years. So many productions just come screaming out of the gate with incredible season 1s, and then for whatever reason, may it be less resources or a front-loaded narrative, season 2 just doesn't really quite hit the same. Mushoku Tensei, yeah, I can really only think about Mushoku Tensei right now. That one really seemed to burn me. I guess One Punch Man is a way more extreme example, but I try to pretend that one doesn't exist. The first season of Apothecary Diaries was so good. I fell in love with the structure of the show as voiced in my last video on it. The way that they would slowly build up a mystery, giving you pieces of information via seemingly unconnected events or happenings, only to bring everything full circle near the end of the arc, which was euphoric. It made every episode so fun. Watching our main character Mao Mao, or as my sister calls her, Meow Meow, go around doing slice of life stuff or solving petty crimes, only for some piece of information obtained during those quiet times to come back as imperative to solving the greater puzzle. I could rave about the collaborative soundtrack of Satoru Kosaki, Kevin Pankin, and Elisa Okehizama, or even about the story elements themselves, but at its core, the reason why Apothecary Diaries thrives the way that it does is because it ultimately respects the viewer. There are few things worse than an author leaving loose ends untied at the end of their story. Lobotomization, castration, walking by those little adoption events in your local pet store and making direct eye contact with that dog you know you definitely can't handle, but are going to think about retrospectively for the next month anyways. Yeah, I'm still salty about how Historia got shafted in Attack on Titan. It's easy enough to introduce new facts, ideas, and characters throughout the duration of a show's runtime, but to ensure the importance of said thing as the story progresses is a whole different beast entirely. Something that I have been enjoying immensely over the past year or so is the One Piece manga. I'm on chapter 600, just past the time skip, if you know, you know. Keeping a reader both invested and entertained for that period of time is absurd, a testament to the author Oda and what I perceive as a mastery over a certain storytelling concept shared with Apothecary Diaries. That concept is the payoff. The moment when I knew that One Piece was truly special was at the conclusion of the Skypiea arc. Our characters wander to the island of Jaya, where they meet Chestnut Head and a couple of funky monkeys. There, they learn about the fairy tale of Nolan the Liar, how he's related to Chestnut Head, and how it's his duty to prove his ancestor wasn't as the story entails. The plot seemingly ends there, our characters wholesomely depart, and the viewer is left thinking, that was a nice little story arc. Little do they know that on the next island, that story pertaining to Nolan would indeed be proven true, linking the two civilizations together, and making for this beautiful ending where both Jaya and Skypiea storylines are given a pretty breathtaking conclusion. Oda rewarded the viewer for paying attention during the seemingly less important Jaya arc, and while it seems pretty basic, assuring the audience that elements aren't being thrown in willy-nilly adds so much to a narrative. For me, the fun lies in taking note of seemingly one-off character introductions, and when they come back as imperative to the storyline later, makes for this huge aha moment. What is it? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction or something? Season 2 of Apothecary Diaries does this exact same thing. In Season 1, the arcs were pretty cleanly cut into two 12-episode pieces, with 9 or 10 of each serving as the build-up, providing details and clues that'll prove imperative to solving the climax in the latter few. Season 2 attempts to tackle a conspiracy much larger in scope than anything prior, and while this means that there are more of those build-up episodes present, once you get to the coveted payoff, it is such an awesome experience. In hindsight, there wasn't a single episode that I can point to and say that offered nothing to the overall story. I found myself literally watching this show with a Google Doc open on my second monitor, and after each episode, trying to note the aspects that I thought would come back to play a larger role later on. This element of stories can be so much fun, but it also has to be earned. It only takes one unnecessary addition or retcon, aka established facts or events being changed, ignored, etc., to break the underlying trust between viewer and author. Suddenly, those slice of life episodes become just that. The viewer can no longer trust that their attention to detail will be rewarded, and thus they won't put in the effort. Maintaining continuity becomes imperative to the narrative, and while it takes just one slip up to lose, it's a line that Apothecary straddles masterfully. I kinda hate how that sounded. Yes, that ice cream episode was in fact important. Little blips that you could totally miss on the first watch turn out to be massive hints as to what's going on. Some random case about the jealousy of a higher-ranking concubine being brought down on a lady-in-waiting seems to be an isolated incident at first glance, yet aspects of the situation begin to steer the viewer towards the motivations that'll be revealed later. Even when you think you've got a section of the mystery locked down, some new piece of information will be thrown into the mix, completely recontextualizing the situation, and you'll be all like, oh shit, I should have seen that coming. On rewatch, there could have been multiple details that had hinted at this revelation. My brain was just too small to put them all together. All of this makes those first however many episodes of build-up super engaging for the audience, filled with countless aha moments, only for it to either be a misdirection or part of, but not all of, the greater mystery. And even if some brainiac has the whole thing figured out before the climax, there's still much of the emotional aspect that remains hidden until the final act. The viewer is very much capable, like Mao Mao, of solving the what and how of an arc, but the context added by the involved parties near the end really contributes to the why, interweaving this detail-driven mystery with an emotion-driven story. The characters of Season 2 made this arc the personal favorite of mine thus far, and with the rapport the author has built with her audience, along with her clear mastery of the payoff, she can pretty much do whatever she wants from here on out. As long as she upholds her promise to the viewer that everything that occurs is with intent, then quite honestly, she could sell me an entire arc revolving around some guy's balls. Actually, I guess she already did that.